The Voice of Russia transcription service presents Science and Engineering.
Today, visiting the headhunters, mopping up the oil spill in the Arctic, and information about earthquakes declassified. Item today is about a remarkable expedition by the Italian explorer Jacek Palkovic and his Russian colleague Vitaly Sundakov to Indonesia.
The main objective of this expedition was to reach the last tribes in the world that practice cannibalism. The explorers achieved this aim. The two of them spent over a month in the least explored region of our world, Irian Jaya. The climate there is considered absolutely unsuitable for Europeans. The population of the Indonesian island of Irian Jaya is unrelated to the people inhabiting the other Indonesian islands. They're dark-skinned, with thick curly hair, and their features resemble those of the Australian Aborigines. They wear hardly any clothes at all, and many wear tusks of wild boars in their nostrils and ornaments of bones and seashells on their chests. The warriors are armed with stone hatchets, arrows, spears, and knives made from bone. Their principal game are crocodiles, but the people also fish and collect edible plants. Fire is derived in the most primitive fashion from flints. The explorers were able to establish contact with several tribes on the island and lived in their primitive homes, a meter above the ground, with roofs made of reeds. At first, despite their friendly reception, they posted a sentry at night, fearing that the hospitality shown could be a mere preparation for breakfast. Indeed, the Asmat tribe, for example, have the reputation of being cannibals and headhunters. Asked what had attracted them to Irian Jaya, Vitaly Sundakov said that he had been studying paganism for a long time as the cradle of civilization, and he wanted to see its roots. Undoubtedly, the explorers were also interested in meeting the cannibals and getting to understand their psychology. The tribes inhabiting Irian Jaya believe that anyone who is killed or dies is certain to be reborn. Eating a killed enemy is a ritual there, during which the victor takes over the qualities of the person he defeated. According to Sundakov, the cannibals don't consider human flesh particularly tasty or killing a big feat. The heads that the headhunters put up on poles along the boundaries of their territory have the aim of frightening off enemies. It's really a measure of self-defense against the world around them. The death of many of the missionaries who visited those territories was due partly to the fact that they came there with their religion, absolutely unacceptable to people who had, for thousands of years, lived a totally different life. Our explorers avoided the sad fate of these missionaries by not trying to convert the natives to civilization, indeed by showing kindness and affection, and thereby they proved that harmonious relations between the natives and Europeans are quite possible.
And now, as usual, question time. And our first question today is from Manohar Raul in Bombay, India. He would like to hear about the oil spill in Russia's Arctic region and what is being done to contain it. Boris, remind us first of the main facts about the spill. Where exactly did it occur?
The scene of the accident is the country's Arctic region. To be exact, an area of bogs and lakes, some 300 kilometers south of the Arctic Ocean and about 100 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. The cause of the spill was a pipeline rupture, or rather, a whole series of ruptures, due to neglect of the pipeline over a period of many years. The disastrous spill, which occurred near the town of Usinsk in the Komi Republic in October, was actually the latest in a series that had begun in July along a 50-kilometer stretch of the pipeline.
Boris, has this stretch of the pipeline actually been replaced? I believe you said some time ago that it was about to be replaced.
Yes, it was supposed to have been replaced in December, but the work is badly behind schedule, and I wouldn't really expect it to be commissioned before the spring.
Who took the decision to replace the corroded pipeline in December, then?
This was a decision of the Emergency Situations Commission of the Komi Republic, taken jointly with the Komi Oil Company, that's Komi Neft.
Then why wasn't it fulfilled? I don't understand.
The reason given is a lack of funds. The oil company, you see, already owes the construction organizations working on the project about 13 billion rubles. It has now asked the governments of the Russian Federation and the Komi Republic to allocate 50 billion rubles for the completion of the project and for, well, a general cleanup in the vicinity of Usinsk.
So, Boris, tell us, how is the cleanup proceeding in the meantime, then?
Rather slowly. The bulk of the job is being done by workmen armed with little more than shovels. The job is of enormous proportions. The polluted ground, ice and snow are being transported to special storages. The scene is really a depressing one, with oil caked on stream banks, oil still bubbling out of minor leaks in the pipeline, and oil lying on the tundra in black pools.
Boris, they say delays with the clean-up job could have tragic consequences.
Yes, that's so, I'm afraid. There are already reports of milk in towns like Usinsk being laced with oil. The spring floodwaters could do much more harm. They could cause the oil they carry to destroy wildlife and contaminate fish, including salmon, and their spawning grounds. And this could really be a tragedy for people who depend on fish and game for their survival. There could also be a threat to migratory birds from temperate climates, which spend their summers in the Arctic tundra. And worst of all, of course, the oil could be carried into the Pechora River and on to the Barents Sea. Unfortunately, Western companies developing oil fields in that part of Russia have so far declined to share the responsibility, though many of the leaks appeared after the pipeline had been pressured up to carry their oil.
Well, Boris, it's time now that we turn to another subject, if you don't mind. The terrible tragedy in Japan, where a devastating earthquake has taken a toll of over 4,000 lives now, has once again drawn worldwide attention to these natural calamities. Well, among our listeners, earthquakes are a subject of particular interest to, for example, Jerome Kutcher in Indianapolis, Indiana, and William von Camp in Fargo, North Dakota, both in the United States, to Keith Robinson in Littlehampton, Sussex, Britain, and to Ramesh Kottayam in Kerala, India, to mention but a few names. Now, Boris, tell us, has this earthquake come as a surprise to scientists, do you think?
No, I wouldn't think so. Japan, you see, is situated along what is known as the Pacific Rim of Fire, a zone frequently struck by earthquakes. Witness the recent earthquakes in Los Angeles and the Kuriil Islands, both along the Pacific Rim, where faults in the Earth's crust provide a natural point of release for pent-up energy in the bowels of our planet. And this being so, I don't think seismologists were surprised by this latest calamity.
Boris, I remember last year's earthquake in the Kuriil Islands, but are there any other areas along Russia's Pacific coast where there is a danger of a major earthquake?
Yes, there is. We now know that the large city of Vladivostok is situated in such a danger zone. Now, for 40 years, the truth about this danger was concealed from the city's inhabitants. And only now has the relevant seismological information been declassified, you might say. Throughout all those years, the official line was that Russia's Pacific coast was a seismically safe area. Yes, underground energy does build up there, but it's released in frequent, small, and therefore safe bursts. This official line was not altered even after the 8-point earthquake in Vladivostok in 1955.
But could that be after such a severe quake?
You see, although the 1955 quake was very severe, 8-point on the 12-point Mercalli scale, it fortunately inflicted practically no damage on the city. This was because Vladivostok at that time consisted of small 1- and 2-story buildings put up long before the 1917 revolution. Another quake in the vicinity in 1967 registered 8 points. But again, there was practically no damage, and official seismology remained silent. Vladivostok was not even included in the list of danger zones.
Boris, what about the situation now, though? Surely there's been new construction.
Yes, of course. A giant building project was launched in the mid-60s. The local hills are now covered with high-rise blocks of flats, and the latest findings reveal that many of them are situated right on top of faults. In fact, even micro-tremors, which are very frequent there, have caused cracks to appear in most of the new buildings. Of course, the builders have been trying to remedy this with various reinforcement measures, patching things up, but this will be of little use in the event of another major earthquake.
But why wasn't the alarm sounded earlier when these buildings were being put up, Boris?
There was one scientist, Dr. Vladimir Bezverkhny, of the local Institute of Oceanology, who did call attention to the danger back in 1981. But Moscow turned a deaf ear to the local seismologists, and Vladivostok continued to be officially regarded as a seismically safe city. Multi-storied buildings continued to mushroom in Vladivostok, many of them right astride of faults, as I said. More such work is underway right now. In fact, builders readily choose such sites because excavation work there is easier, thanks to nature's help.
But why were the warnings of the scientists, like this particular man you mentioned, ignored?
I would say for 3 reasons. For one thing, even modest anti-seismic engineering increases construction costs by about 15%. And the latest earthquake in Japan has shown that even far more elaborate precautions are not enough. Japan will almost certainly rethink its anti-quake measures. The second reason for the reluctance of the Soviet authorities to put Vladivostok on the list of danger zones was their desire to encourage migration to the Far Eastern regions, from central Russia and from the Ukraine. And the third reason was ideological. The communist authorities sought to create the impression that they had everything under control, even the forces of nature.
Then the effects of a really severe quake in Vladivostok could be disastrous, couldn't they?
Yes. In some of his warnings, Dr. Bezverchny has said that a 7-point quake would flatten the city, causing practically all the new structures to collapse like a house of cards.
So now that the true situation has been revealed, is anything being done to minimise the danger?
Yes. Last year, the Schmidt Institute of the Physics of the Earth, at long last, received funds to expand its network of seismic stations in the maritime territory. But the new stations are still on the blueprints only.
Boris, William von Kamp in his letter also asks, is it true that the moon can cause earthquakes?
You know, as a matter of fact, the devastating earthquake in Japan occurred almost exactly at full moon. But of course, this is not statistical evidence in support of the hypothesis. It may just be a coincidence.
But there are scientists, aren't there, who do believe in such a relationship?
There are, yes. For example, a geophysicist in Belarusia, Dr. Yuri Mikhailov, believes the moon plays a big part in triggering earthquakes. He argues that as the Earth revolves around the Sun, its solid core, containing the bulk of its mass, follows a more stable orbit than does the mantle, separated from the core by a liquid stratum. We know that the moon causes the ocean tides, and even tides in the Earth's crust, so it's only natural to assume it may affect the core as well.
Is there any factual evidence to support Dr. Mikhailov's case, though, Boris?
Yes. He supports his hypothesis with gravimetric data, that is, measurements of changes in the force of gravity at different points of the Earth's surface. Zones of seismic activity, it turns out, often coincide with areas where the force of gravity is greater than usual. Mikhailov maintains that these changes of gravity occur when the Earth's core moves closer to the surface or away from it. These movements, in which the moon plays its part, can increase crystal stress, which in turn can trigger earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. By the way, somewhat similar conclusions about the moon playing a part in triggering earthquakes was reached by a group of geophysicists in California, who found that all the quakes there occurred either at full moon or during a new moon. Moreover, when the sun and the moon were aligned to the west or the east of the Earth.
And that was another edition of Science and Engineering, brought to you by the Voice of Russia Transcription Service.